All right, it is 1 p.m. Eastern time, so we're going to go ahead and get started because we do have a lot to get through today. First off, welcome to the OASIS Plus overview training. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Rachel Wynn, and I'm the Customer Branch Chief for the Stakeholder Engagement Division at PSHC within GSA. For the training today, you will receive one CLP. Please keep in mind that this is the overview class, and there is a separate training required in order to request a DPA. Please feel free to ask questions throughout this training in the Q&A pod. We will be monitoring it throughout the entire presentation. The presenter for today is Jay Payne, who is a new addition to our customer branch team, and he is a professional services advisor. In his role, he serves as a subject matter expert for all PSHC contracting solutions and assists customer agencies by completing scope reviews, answering any questions, providing recommendations for contracting vehicles, doing trainings like he's doing today, and so much more. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Jay for the presentation.
Yep. Thank you, Rachel. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Jay Payne, a professional service advisor for GSA. And today, I'd like to present to you an overview of OASIS Plus, and we'll start with some admin information. The meeting is being recorded. If you wish to opt out, you may do so at any time. The phone lines are all muted. Please use Q&A box for any questions, and my teammates will answer the questions along the way. The presentation will be available via email when done, and as mentioned, CLPs will be sent out accordingly as well too. You will receive a post-event surveys. Please provide input so that we can continue to add or modify our presentation to better service the professional acquisition professional needs in the government. An agenda, just some of the topics that we'll be talking about, and largely we'll be covering over what is OASIS and how it will benefit your organization. We will also discuss the different service domains as part of the OASIS program. And we'll talk about the different acquisition solutions that our team manages, along with comparison of our solution versus open market as spelled out in 415. Lastly, we'd like to share some of the other resources available to you, not just on OASIS, but some of our other solutions as well too. And course objectives. Primary objective today is to discuss the service offered under OASIS Plus, and we will do some comparison between legacy OASIS, MAS, and OASIS Plus. In doing so, we will cover some of the difference between GSA PSHC contract solutions to open market acquisition. And it is important to know that the two contracts are not the same, OASIS and OASIS Plus, even though they do share some of the same features and capabilities. One is a legacy, and the OASIS Plus is our new improved acquisition solution. And lastly, I want to share some resources with you on how to become an eligible ordering contracting officer to use OASIS and to keep with any changes that are coming down the line for our new program. So what is OASIS Plus? OASIS Plus stands for One Acquisition Solution for Integrated Service and is a government-wide multiple award IDIQ acquisition program. In discussing scope, it's important to understand OASIS Plus is designed to support a full range of complex non-IT service requirements that integrate multiple service discipline and ancillary services and products. Because it is a second generation MAC contract, we have expanded the scope of the original OASIS program, thus expanding the services available in OASIS Plus. OASIS Plus combines the scope of legacy OASIS, building management operations or BMO, and human capital and training solutions, HCAS, under one program along the new areas of previously undefined service. And continuing on with what is OASIS. The contract program has 6 different IDIQ contracts. You can see the list of contracts on the slide. And it's not in any particular order or award of order. The unrestricted IDIQ allows for any business type or size to participate as long as they qualify and will consist mostly of large businesses. We do have 5 small businesses and socioeconomic set-aside IDIQs as well, too, with each of these IDIQs, they will have the same domain within one exception. Unrestricted has the enterprise domain within its scopes, which we'll discuss on a later slide. Let's move on to the next slide to discuss some of the unique features and benefits of OASIS Plus. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this slide. It's a lot of information in one, but I'll try to summarize and give you examples so that you can better understand this slide. With OASIS Plus, one of the really unique features compared to OASIS is that we're establishing this as a domain-based structure, meaning we have functional groups of industry partners that are together. The scope can expand, meaning we have the ability to expand the scope even further in the future if there is an obvious or true need for government to expand. So unlike some of the other GSA solutions, OASIS Plus has the ability and flexibility to expand if needed. In addition, OASIS Plus is designed to provide services worldwide or for commercial and non-commercial services, as long as their not principal purpose is IT, architecture, engineering, or construction or personal requirements. We have other solutions in the GSA portfolio designed to support those type of requirements. OASIS Plus does not have a contract ceiling. Because there's no ceiling, there's also no cap on the value of the individual award. So maybe you have a requirement that's $500K or upwards of $10 billion. Both of these requirements will fit under OASIS because we don't have a contract ceiling for the entire program. And likewise, GSA values the skills and experience from our vetted contractors. We wanted to make sure that these contractors have demonstrated capability and experience in the industry they will be performing work in. So they're truly vetted and have been thoroughly analyzed to be able to be on this program. And that doesn't mean that you can't find innovative acquisition approaches from established companies, but you probably aren't going to find a lot of those small startup firms or breaking into the industry type vendors. Because they don't have the necessary years of relevant experience to participate in this contract program. However, our prime contractors, if needed, can partner with those other type of innovative startups or smaller businesses. OASIS Plus has a 10-year ordering period, just like the legacy OASIS. We have a 5-year base and an option period of 5 years. So you'll have plenty of time during the life of this contract to put in your orders. One thing that is unique about OASIS Plus is there will be open on-ramping after we finalize the initial awards. So once we completed phase 1 for the initial 8 domains, we will reopen the solicitation and allow for continuous on-ramping after that. The issue was raised by our industry partners as well as our agency partners as being problematic for the OASIS program. So we designed OASIS Plus to address this concern. We evaluated pricing at the contract level, but it is very limited evaluation of prices. We only evaluated 20 different labor categories and their prices. However, in most cases, ordering agencies will be evaluating price for fair and reasonable at the task order level. You won't be relying on contract pricing established at the IDIQ level. There is an exception for sole source T&M or labor hour task orders where pricing at the IDIQ level does come into play. However, for the most part, those are pretty rare. So pricing will need to be considered at the task order level as part of your evaluation. And like OASIS and most other IDIQs, we are building this to be the best-in-class contract. So if your agency has certain spend under management goals, especially in the area of Tier 3 contracting usage, OASIS Plus will be a great fit for this requirement. As far as the service domains in OASIS, we have 8 of them, as mentioned. And we're currently evaluating awarding them as we speak. We call this the phase 1 of our 8 domains. And they, as like OASIS, the domains are based around NAICS codes. If you're not familiar with NAICS codes or North American Industry Classification System codes, please refer to the NAICS website here on this slide deck, and it's managed by the Census Bureau. And moving on to the phase 2 portion, in the near future, we plan on rolling out the phase 2 for additional 5 domains for this rollout. We're focusing on services covered by contract programs like HCAS, which has a few years left in the life cycle, and the ordering period will end in 2026. So we like to incorporate these capabilities or these solutions to the phase 2 of our rollout for OASIS Plus. As mentioned before, each domain includes multiple NAICS, and the ordering contracting office will select one domain and one NAICS under the contract family selected to us, assigned to each solicitation. I'll speak more about the scope and the ordering process throughout this presentation. And these next 2 slides will concentrate a little bit and discuss what's offered under OASIS Plus as far as services go. And one of the most popular requirements that came across our OASIS program was management advisory, and we predict that it'll be the same for OASIS Plus. And management advisory services covers a wide range of professional service designed to support business or government programs. Some of the more popular usage of this domain will be for consulting and advisory and program and business management requirements, relatively a broad spectrum of services to support the day-to-day business management in the government. The next most common domain is in the world of professional services is the technical and engineering domain. This is meant for expertise in physical science, engineering, geophysics, and technicians that support these type of activities in the technical and engineering realm. Another commonly used type of service for the federal government is research and development. Most of that work tends to be in physical science and sometimes weapons and capabilities development for DoD agencies, and includes services in nanotechnology, biotechnology, and social science and humanities. So research and development of all types is allowed under this domain. And speaking of DoD, logistics service is a heavy requirement in the DoD mission, and the logistics service domain revolves around the planning, designing, implementing, and operating these logistics systems so you can move supplies, equipment, people, by any means necessary around the world. And this key right here shows you that the OASIS or best in class, these were all legacy requirements or solutions offered under OASIS. On the next slide, we'll kind of just touch upon the expanded scope and the BMO. So in this slide, you'll see the 3 expanded scope domains, as well as one of our new additions, the facilities, which is a combination of BMO and facilities requirements that were previously offered in other solutions at GSA. Intelligence service is a new domain in the OASIS Plus program. Intelligence support can vary widely to data analysts or collection support, as well as the management of technology and capabilities supporting highly complex intelligence technology and equipment. We have reviewed our lessons learned on intelligence service acquired under OASIS in the past in a very many different variation or variety of acquisition solutions. So we do have a good lessons learned, and that's why we decided to incorporate this intelligence domain. So this domain was designed to better support the intelligence community and consolidate some of the common needs in the industry. And moving on to the environmental consulting was always an option under OASIS Pool 1, but other types of similar services such as remediation and the operation and handling of actual hazardous material wasn't something that was in the scope of OASIS. However, we did set up an environmental domain to allow for that type of service that are often similar and interrelated with environmental operations and management. And moving on to facilities. Facilities or services required to maintain and operate building and physical infrastructure, either civil or military. One thing I want to mention about this domain is that we took the scope of BMO, building management and operation, maintenance and operation, and incorporated into the facilities domain for the OASIS. So we expanded the scope to make sure this domain can be a one-stop shop for agencies looking for total base operation support. So not just a common janitorial service or landscaping type of work, but requirement that encompasses the entire operation of a base or a facility, to include motor pool for fleet services, or even warehousing operations that may be located in the base. I do want to point out one thing, like OASIS, BMO, and the MASS program, this does not include primary construction of A&E or A&E services, as mentioned before. Those type of services are restricted to FAR Part 36 ordering procedures, as they are covered by the Davis-Bacon Act and the Brooks Act, respectively. And lastly, there's the enterprise solutions domain. As mentioned before, this is for the unrestricted contract family only. And it's designed to support enterprise requirements that tend to be very large and complex, covering multiple disciplines and labor categories, and usually involves multiple location of performance as well. These also tend to be very large in dollar value. Because of the complexity and the magnitude, small business as a prime will have limited activity in this domain, but they are open to be able to serve as the sub to some of the larger prime vendors on this domain. And I just want to speak at a very high level. As Rachel mentioned, we do have a different training, that is the DPA, the Delegation of Procurement Authority. But I wanted to just touch upon that subject at a very high level to kind of give you an understanding of how to go see if the OASIS is the right fit for you to use. And the first thing is, let's determine if OASIS is the right fit. We're talking about scopes, labor categories, NAICS, etc. And as part of your research, if you need a second set of eyes or a subject matter expert evaluation on your requirement to see if it's the right fit, we do offer scope review. It doesn't cost anything for you folks, and our team is happy to produce a good, thorough analysis of your requirement and provide the best input from our expertise and experience. And the next part is the market research. And this is exploring the federal market and seeing what type of business utilization or tools will be best for your acquisition needs. And of course, market research being a big part of this, as in RFIs, GSA has a service called MRAS, which is Market Research as a Service. And there's different capabilities within that tool. But is a very popular tool to get a better understanding of what your requirement or what domain your requirement should fall under, but also what contracting solutions. In most cases, we'll give you the best input on what the GSA solutions, best GSA solutions would be, but it's not uncommon for our teammates. If need be, we recommend what is best for the government. So ultimately, if there is another solution outside of GSA, perhaps within DoD or DHS or any one of the bigger agencies, then we are happy to point you folks to that direction, because at the end of the day, we're supporting one team as a government, and we want the best solutions for your agency to fulfill your mission. And once you get ready and you think you're ready to use OASIS, this is the DPA portion. Delegation of Procurement Authority. You have to be a warranted contracting officer and attend the OASIS DPA training. And then, of course, you submit your requests, and then GSA will review and produce your DPA documentation. And once again, OASIS not necessarily OASIS Plus. Yes, a lot of similarities, a lot of common functions, but it is a new program, and it is a revised and improved program, as we like to think. So I think once you get an understanding of the OASIS Plus, you'll see where we put some effort into improving OASIS, and of course on other contract solutions as well too. And once you're ready and you have your DPA, the solicitation and evaluation task order will be the next. And this is ultimately where you put in your order. And you do that through GSA eBuy. And if you're not familiar with GSA eBuy, don't worry, folks. We have another separate training for that as well too. So please reach out to us if you or your organization needs these specific training. Please reach out to us, and we could provide custom training or direct you to one of our many scheduled training that's virtual. And then, of course, through GSA eBuy, we'll award a task order and then continue to manage the task order. One caveat to this is that if you don't have folks that are contracting officers, or you don't have the resources, we do provide assisted acquisition services at GSA, which will put in an order for you and manage the contract for you. But it does come with a small fee, usage fee for the assisted acquisition services. And moving on to the next part, we're going to just do some concept checks to make sure you folks are keeping up with this information being provided, and just to kind of test what you think OASIS Plus is about. So we'll start with concept check one. The agency needs a contractor with expertise in data collection and analysis to enable 24 hours per day, 7 days per week monitoring of adversary activities. This involves a broad set of capabilities using a wide variety of platforms: satellites, aircraft, ships, humans, and sensors. What do you folks this domain should be? I'll give you about 5 seconds and show you what we think. And if you thought intelligence support, you're absolutely right. Most likely under NASIX 541690 or 541990. And concept check two. Agency requires an engineering firm to verify environmental remediation plans are compliant with agency policies and federal regulation. What domain should I use? All right. If you selected environmental domain or tech and engineering, you're both correct. Possible NAICS would be 541330 or 541620. And we put both environmental and tech engineering in there because it is a common solution that could meet this requirement. And until we get down to the actual PWS or SAL, just this is a general kind of blanket statement saying that these two domains can usually cover this type of requirement. All right, agency requires program management support to improve the efficiency and output of an engineering department tasked with multiple testing and verification projects for other agency partners. The contractor will evaluate the project intake and completion process and recommend process, operational, and organizational improvements. What domain do you think this should be? And if you chose management advisory or technical engineering, you're both correct. Possible NAICS will be 501611. And moving on, this portion, we'll discuss some of the choices when it comes to acquiring services, especially from GSA contracts. We know that you don't have to use GSA, folks, but we try to make these contracts very easy to use so that it saves you time and resources. And that's what GSA does best. We put contracts in place developed by many experts and SMEs to ultimately reduce the burden of your organization and reduce the resources needed to meet mission requirements. And we do this for all federal agencies. Any federal agencies, even state and local, are allowed to use GSA solutions. So just keep us in mind whenever you do have an acquisition need. I find GSA to be the pinnacle of that acquisition for government. And I believe most of you folks probably know that as well too. So moving on, here's some discussions on a quick comparison. OASIS Mass and OASIS Plus, both, and OASIS Plus are both based off of FAR 15. We negotiate the contracts for you ultimately. They are applicable to both commercial and non-commercial requirements. However, the schedule program is based off of FAR 15 and part of FAR 12. It is only available for commercial items and services, and you cannot do non-commercial service acquisitions under the MASS program. And for the solicitation and closing and on-ramping strategy, as far as the solicitation closing strategy, OASIS was open to on-ramping as needed with no further on-ramps, meaning we made awards and closed the solicitation. With the schedules, it's open all the time, meaning we can accept new offers all the time for a scheduled contract. So it's continually accepting new offers. There's no on-ramping period. We try to find the best of both worlds of OASIS and MASS to create the OASIS Plus when it comes to this topic. So we're going to reopen the solicitation once we made those awards and keep that solicitation open for those initial 8 domains afterwards. So it'd be similar to the schedule program in that respect. Once we've stood up the first phase, phase 2, we may have to do an initial solicitation opening for those domains, close it, make awards, and then reopen it again in the future. But the intent is to make it easier for industry to access instead of having to wait 5 years for an on-ramping period to happen. We have it available to do it sooner than that. And whenever you're qualified to perform that work in that domain. As far as the evaluation methodology goes, with OASIS, we use the highest technically rate offers with fair and reasonable price, meaning we set a target number of spots on OASIS contract vehicle by pool. So for example, when we ramped up the OASIS Small Business Pool 1, we set a limit on 200 contracts or contractors. And through a self-scoring system, the highest scoring 200 contractors were given spots on the OASIS Small Business Pool 1 contracts. With MASS, there's nothing like that. As long as the proposals are considered responsive to the solicitation requirements and the offerer is technically capable, their prices are determined fair and reasonable. They're not barred from doing government work. Then they could get a spot on the schedule contract as long as they meet those requirements. With OASIS Plus, we used a similar self-scoring methodology to OASIS. However, we didn't set a target number of spots. Basically, we wanted to get the very high qualified industry partners to be part of this program. So we set the bar quite high in this aspect, meaning that they have to show relevant experience and depth of relevant experience to demonstrate the ability to handle more complex requirements that may be required in OASIS Plus. And OASIS may have had lots of NAICS associated by pools, but the system and the FAR at the time only allow one NAICS code to be awarded by contracts. Even though there's 21 NAICS code associated with that pool, all of them have NAICS codes of 501330. Similarly, with mass contract, the contractor can only have one NAICS, but that NAICS code is actually assigned based on the business, the core business of that industry partner. Sometimes that core business may not have a similar special number under the schedule program. With OASIS Plus, the system only allows us right now to assign one NAICS code per contract. However, we've structured the contract to have multiple CLINs. The scope aspect for OASIS were pools of NAICS related in size standard for professional services. Mass has more than 300 available SINs, as mentioned, with assigned individual NAICS. OASIS Plus, we have moved on from the previous system, and design of the domains which are aligned with functional work to be performed under that domain. And the CAF portion, a very popular question or discussion when it comes to OASIS. In OASIS, we have a 0.75 as a base with varying CAF for agencies that had a MOU or a Memorandum of Understanding with GSA. MAST utilizes Industrial Funding Fee, IFF, rather than the CAF. And OASIS Plus, we simplify the CAF as 0.15% for all federal agencies and does not incorporate any MOU or negotiations. So that's an improvement for most folks, most agencies, that the CAF has been drastically reduced. And a quick comparison continues. The period of performance is similar for all three solutions with 5-year base, so with a slightly varying 5-year option for the three solutions. I do want to note task orders issued under OASIS Plus can continue for up to 5 years after the master contract expires. And small business re-representations are done at the master level by GSA. Order and contracting officers may, of course, require a size re-representation at the order level under any of these programs. And domain status. Domain status and cancellation clause are part of the contract terms, and similar for OASIS as the T&C are in the contracts. Dormant status does not apply for MAS. All right, in this slide, here's the contract structure for these different programs. There are 19 different IDIQs under OASIS, so you could definitely see we try to simplify that with OASIS Plus having 6 IDIQs. Under MAS, it's unlimited. It's all one solicitation. But as I mentioned earlier, 300 different SINs to help organize it. And order types. With MAS, keep in mind, because it is for commercial services only, cost reimbursement orders are not allowed, with the exception of travel, which follows the FTR or joint FTR regulations. And the spend under management credit, you get tier 3 credit. For schedule is tier 2. Just keep that in mind for your agency goals. And protest, not allowed under 10 million for OASIS and OASIS Plus, as long as your requirement is within scope of the program. If it's outside of the scope, let's say it was largely an IT requirement or something outside the scope, then it's fair game for protest. Under the MAS program, protests are allowed at any dollar value. Finally, the blanket purchase agreements. This question does come up quite often as well. And no, we can't establish a BPA under OASIS or OASIS Plus. Because it's an IDIQ, you can't create a BPA or another IDIQ type requirements under another actual IDIQ. But you can do it under mass. So if that's something that is part of your acquisition strategy, definitely keep mass in mind. And moving on to the scope reviews. As mentioned before, GSA offers OASIS Plus scope reviews to ensure your requirements within scope of one of the OASIS Plus domains as part of the pre-solicitation process. This is an additional value as it is not required, but highly recommended. We're currently working on instructions for submitting for reviews and should have it posted to the OASIS website here shortly. Here's a link to our current scope review request form for our OASIS HCATS and mass contracting form. And it's right here in this little embedded link. All right, folks, at the OASIS Buying Authority. The next two slides will cover some of the key features between FAR 15 and FAR 16.505 ordering procedures and highlight some areas where agencies can save a good amount of time. And in this slide, we'll discuss contracts under FAR 15 have to have a minimum value of simplified acquisition threshold, also known as SAT. For non-commercial work or 7.5 mil for commercial requirements, where under OASIS Plus, we recommend that the order minimum be the SAT, but it's not a strict requirement per the FAR. Task order solicitations under FAR 16.5 must be set for a reasonable amount of time, but there is not a defined minimum compared to a minimum of 30 days under FAR 15. This means that the industry is ready and able to respond at a moment's notice, relatively quick compared to the required 30 days of the FAR 15. And that also largely depends on how complex your requirement is and basically the size and value as well. And synchronizing requirements is not required under FAR 16.505 as it is under FAR 15. The exception, of course, is when an agency limits source by procuring items peculiar to one manufacturer under FAR 16.505. Over $30,000, which doesn't often apply to OASIS Plus orders. And the formal source selection evaluation boards are required under FAR 15, but not under FAR 16.505. It may make sense to form a SSEB for complex requirements under OASIS Plus, but the board is not mandatory. And discussions. Discussions as defined under FAR 15 do not apply for OASIS Plus. Orders, although task orders, sources, selection may still include negotiation as the CEO has a broad discretion as establishing order placement procedure. And continue on with buying authority. As mentioned prior, the CEO has a broad discretion in how to establish source selection procedures and can use a variety of techniques for evaluating proposals to help streamline the process. And most contract awards under FAR 15 procedures should be established using the Uniform Contract Format, better known as UCF. But it's important to keep in mind that OASIS Plus awards are task orders, which may have a much simpler format. There are many examples of task order formats available online, including a basic template for OASIS Plus in the OASIS Plus ordering guide. And under FAR 16.5, no protests are allowed for orders whose total value is less than 10 million, unless those orders are out of scope. increase the period of performance, or increasing the maximum value of the contract. For DoD, NASA, and Coast Guard, that limit is $25 million. Additionally, all protests must be filed with the GAO, and small business set-aside protests are handled in accordance with 19.302. And once the awards have been made, agencies do not need to provide notification and debriefings when FAR 16.505 orders are over 6 million. Under FAR 15, agencies must allow for pre-award notifications and debriefing if requested at any dollar threshold. While post-award debriefings are not required for OASIS Plus for orders less than 6 mil, we recommend that it's a good practice as an acquisition professionals do so to better help with the industry and our industry partners to understand what they did wrong and what they did right. So just something to keep in mind if you're the contracting officer managing the solicitation and award. And touching on the subject of DPA again, just a little more thorough information and how to go about getting your DPA. While the DPA is a requirement for the ordering contracting officer, program managers, and program leads, and acquisition directors are also highly encouraged to attend the training. My apologies. The ordering contracting officer is required, but we recommend program manager, program leads, and acquisition directors to take the training as well too. DPAs issued for legacy OASIS programs do not carry over OASIS Plus, so you do have to get a different training and different DPA process. And ordering officers with OASIS DPAs must take the OASIS Plus DPA training and request a new DPA for OASIS Plus. And the basics, as we discussed before, you got to attend the OASIS DPA training, be a warrant to contracting officer, and formally apply for the DPA through the certificate process in GSA, and to request the DPA through the OASIS Plus website. All right, folks, and moving on to the other information and resources. The next two slides are very popular. You may have some questions, but this kind of sums up the discussion on phase 1 and phase 2 rollouts in this one neat slide. As mentioned, the phase 1 will be the first 8 domains, followed by the 5 domains in phase 2, which is expected to be awarded in fiscal year 25 and 26. And the timeline for OASIS and OASIS Plus, this top portion kind of gives you an idea of when the ordering periods are coming to an end and when we're putting OASIS to bed. With that said, we are excited about awarding OASIS Plus some of the small business contracts first, followed by the unrestricted and 8A and small business as well too. Here, hopefully in December. Depending on protests, this may be pushed to the right. However, as of yesterday, this is the timeline that is the most updated for the OASIS Plus rollout. Let you folks digest that for a second. All right, and lastly, I want to share this slide with you. This is a slide that has the additional resources for you folks. And once again, we'll present these. You'll have access to the slide deck, and all these resource tools that you see here is something that you can access. And if you have any questions that are unique to your organization or your acquisition requirements, please don't hesitate to email us at oasisplus@gsa.gov. And we'll take this time to open it up to questions. And we appreciate your time spending this hour with us, learning more about OASIS Plus and some of our other acquisition solutions managed by the Professional Services and Human Capital Division here at GSA. And it was a good meeting with you folks as my first presentation with this team. Look forward to doing more with you. And if you folks have any questions, please feel free to punch it up in the Q&A box. And if you folks do not have any further questions, as mentioned, you could email us anytime. OASIS Plus emails given right here for any questions. If you want to reach out to us as well too, please email this group and direct any questions relating to anything involving PSHC as well. With that said, I'd like to turn it over to Tim for closing actions. Oh, Brian, you have your hand up.
Yeah, hey Jay. I just wanted to mention there is one question that's in the Q&A pod that we, since we have time to answer it, we might want to do that. And the question is, can you speak a little more to what you mentioned at the beginning of the presentation regarding price evaluation at the task order level? Did you state that not all labor categories are priced at the IDIQ level?
Hi there, Jay. Did you want me to take that one? This is Sheila.
Yeah, Sheila, yes, please.
Hi there, my name is Sheila Morrison. I'm the Director of Contracting for OASIS, OASIS Plus, and HCATS. We call it our Big Mac division, and we get this question quite often. So it is accurate that we do have pricing at the master contract level for OASIS Plus and also for our legacy OASIS, but we'll speak specific to OASIS Plus, as that's what we're all here for. And we have priced out 20 labor categories that are common. We had contractor, our offerors, and will be contractors as we make awards. Price out 20 labor categories that are common across all of the domains on all of the contract families. That pricing is only utilized in T&M labor hour direct award, such as an 8A directed award, or a sole source or exception to fair opportunity award, where there was no competition. There is no competitive pricing. The OASIS Plus contracts allow for extreme flexibility to you, the ordering contracting officer, so that you can utilize the labor categories that are on the contract and have been priced. You can utilize any of the standard occupational labor categories. You can develop your own labor category title and ask the contractor to respond in kind in the offer mapping to the labor category that you've put out there, or you can ask them just to propose either using the pre-established labor categories or custom labor categories. The key is that you have that ultimate flexibility, and basically there is no pricing on OASIS Plus as it pertains to competitive task order actions. So then how do you prove the price is fair and reasonable? You go through your FAR 15404-1 processes, which that, those aren't the only, but those are the typical ways that we prove pricing fair and reasonable. The main one being competition. Through competition, prices are set. So that hopefully answers that question, and just want to stress that the labor rates that we do have on OASIS Plus only pertain to T&M direct award, where it's directed to like an 8A, or an exception to fair opportunity that might have been utilized where there is no competition and you want to reference that pricing. So we have put the ultimate flexibility in the OCO's hands. And if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you for that information, Sheila, as well as answering many of the other questions that we had in the queue.
My pleasure.
All right, folks, give it a few more seconds for any last minute questions. But in the meantime, I definitely like to thank you for your time and participating in this training and spending the last hour with us. We're the PSHC division for GSA, specializing in professional services. If you have any questions, please reach out to us anytime for contract questions or even training or any type of events related questions as well too. So with that said, thank you for your time and look forward to working with you folks. Oh, it looks like we have one last question that came in. Is what you describe price evaluation on the task order on the OASIS website like in the ordering guide? Sheila?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, Bruce, it is in our ordering guide. We go over the pricing and the procedures that you'll follow in order to prove your price is fair and reasonable, solicit and then prove your price is fair and reasonable. And then we have points of contact there. You can always reach out to OASIS Plus at gsa.gov and we'll answer any question that you have there as well.
Well, folks, enjoy the rest of your day and have a good week. And to the GSA team, thank you for your support as well. Everyone have a good day.